Welcome to Technology and Education Today. I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford. And today Richard has a rather interesting topic, one-to-one computing, right?
It's all the rage. Every place you go in educational journals and in meetings, conferences, all you hear about is one-to-one computing.
So what do you hear?
I hear that, one, it's a great idea for students, for teaching and learning, and two, there are a lot of problems with implementations.
Well, that's the part I find interesting is what are the concerns related to implementation and how do you address those concerns?
Well, the concerns are interesting because they are the types of problems that are occurring are the same types of problems that occurred when we first implemented computers in schools back when I started around 1982, 1983, in that the computers were put in classrooms and they were not used.
No professional development means non-use. But what about the electrical aspects as well? You need the Wi-Fi components, you need places for the students to plug in their technology. What about those aspects? Are they upgrading the school sites?
Well, I think they are. For the most part now, the computers that are placed in one-to-one computers are either going to be laptops, or they're going to be tablets, or they're going to be the other form of tablets, which is
smartphone
and an iPod, the
Smartphone.
Apple side of tablet computers, and the tablets tend to last for a long time. But
the more recent ones.
Yes, you certainly do have to charge them. So that means you have to have charging stations that are either going to charge them in schools, or if the students are going to take them home at night, they will have the responsibility of charging those computers themselves. But I think really the main problem comes because there is a certain lack of planning for the use of these computers and these tablets and laptops for the one-to-one computing projects, which is the same lack of planning that we saw in the early 80s when we began to put in a lot of computers. At least in the Houston Independent School District, we were putting in thousands of computers, and there actually we had a great deal of planning. We had each school had to come up with an implementation plan as to how they're going to use the computers. Not only were the teachers...
Do you mean in a curricular fashion?
Right.
Or
in a
straight
curriculum
hit the road, here's where the electrical outlets are type thing?
They had to take care of that too. But the other part of it was they had to demonstrate, in essence they wrote a proposal saying how they would use the computers that they were asking for.
So you're pulling in the engagement. You're getting it in writing.
Right.
Yes, we are interested, and here's why.
Right. So, and before a teacher could get a computer and submit an implementation plan, the administrators, the principals and assistant principals also had to go for training. So in the Houston Independent School District in Texas, in the early 80s, a lot of that problem was taken care of. That doesn't mean that we didn't have computers that weren't used, but certainly we had a greater success rate in using computers because
People
of that
had already
planning.
Bought in.
Now what's happening now in the where are we? 2014.
Well done, Richard.
I want to say in the teens. Wait a second, that doesn't sound right. Is that once again, people have administrators have an idea in their heads, and maybe teachers too, that every child, every student should have a computer. But what they don't do is plan for the use of these computers. And I'm using computers and tablets interchangeably because they're both computers.
When you say computer, are you talking about desktop computers or laptop computers?
Laptops
Okay.
or tablets, because it's one-to-one
Because
computing.
everyone has a different definition.
Well, but it's a one-to-one computing by definition is either a laptop or a tablet computer. Or
that's the understanding within
right.
the discussion, but someone outside of the discussion may not recognize that.
Well, for our purposes, that we're going to identify
we'll make that assumption.
We're going to make that assumption, yes. And so they're frequently bought without really having a plan in hand for how they're going to be used. Now, so what is the key element of any plan for the use of technology, whether it's computers, the old video recorders or audio recorders, and so on and so forth?
Curricular integration, of course.
Curricular integration, but even beyond curricular integration is that you must have...
Support for the trainer?
No. You must have a goal for their use.
Oh, we're starting at the very beginning.
Well, this is right, because this is the
Who
problem.
knew?
This is the problem. See, and she's demonstrating the problem.
I didn't realize we were going all the way back to why are we doing it in the first place?
That's
What
right.
is the outcome we desire?
Because without goals and objectives, you cannot evaluate what you have done.
Oh, I
You
like
can't-
how you
can't-
aligned. Well
You
done.
can't tell whether you've had success with the use of your the technology that you have implemented. And I could go beyond that, but let's just say for
Well, that's a
for the
primary
moment.
concern in itself.
So-
Correctly, the goals/objectives that are delineated, and then the assessment and acknowledging that
Right.
amongst
So once
all
you
the
have
people buying in.
once you have your goals and objectives, then you can develop a plan for use. Now, the only problem with goals and objectives is whose goals and objectives? Are they the
Yes, that's
administration's
interesting.
goals and objectives, or are they the teacher's goals and objectives? And the way you arrive, the way
Well, who's the
I
expert
say,
in the classroom? It's the classroom teacher.
Well,
of course. Yes, the administrators know quite a bit. Yes, professional staff know quite a bit. The classroom teacher knows what goes on in his or her classroom.
true, but there are different goals and ways to set goals and objectives. For instance, if you listen to the companies that produce software and hardware and people who are involved with technology, you would find that, and administrators, you would find that the goal should be to enhance student engagement, and that's the type of goals you got.
Effort.
And higher level thinking skills and all these sorts of things.
Yeah, that's really cute right up until you come up against, so how do you do that?
Well, it's not only so how do you do that, those might be a problem that educational theorists and some administrators might like their teachers to have. However, if you go to the teachers in
I'm
a
just
number
trying
of
to get
school
through the
districts,
day and meet the needs of the learners.
that's right, and the needs of the learners might not necessarily be what the needs of the district are, because the needs of the district are to have those students pass standardized tests.
Currently, that's probably a fair statement.
Right, and it's a reality. So now you have to decide: are the goals for your tablets and your one-to-one computing going to be to help students pass these standardized tests, or are you going to go for more amorphous type goals, which is to enhance their higher level thinking skills? If the teachers feel that this particular implementation, let's say one-to-one computing, is taking away from their ability to prepare students to take pass standardized tests, there's going to be a great deal of reluctance on their part to use those computers.
Because their
those
jobs
tablets.
are in jeopardy.
That's right. So you run the risk of the tablets, the one-to-one computers, not being used.
Fully implemented.
Of course, if you do use them for tutorial purposes, in essence, you run the risk of being criticized for saying you're only using these wonderful devices
As drill and kill.
Well, it's not even drill. It might not even be drill and kill, because there's certainly a number of software programs that teach students how to do procedures that will teach them how to understand algebra, create simulations for them in history, social studies, and all the rest of the stuff. It doesn't just because
There's
you're using,
nothing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with drill and practice.
Well,
software environment.
it's two separate
it's
things.
necessary and appropriate.
Right, it's two separate things. One, you have computer-assisted instruction,
Right.
and that, it's an old term, but it's frequently confused with drill and practice, and as people like to say scornfully, those who are into higher level thinking skills, drill and kill. So it gets a
We
bad
just got
name.
slammed. How do you like them apples?
So, but on the other hand, it's
But
quite.
if it's to be fair, if it's an everyday thing, all you're doing is drill and practice, drill and practice, drill and practice. This is very low level of thought processes.
Well, I'm not arguing with that.
Which is appropriate
I'm
for
not arguing-
standardized
because-
tests.
but we're talking about-
However,
We're talking
what
about
are the learning objectives?
at this moment, I don't care. I care about what the
Focus,
problems
focus,
are
focus.
with one-to-one computing. And so what has to happen is that some compromise has to be made between the goals of the administration and the goals of the teachers and the felt needs of the teachers and the felt needs of the administration. Once all that comes together, then both groups can decide on a plan for implementation that will be accepted by both groups, and the chances of those one-to-one laptops or computers being used greatly increases. And from that, now you can derive the rest of your implementation plan. And these involve answering questions such as, How many laptops do we need? What brand of tablet should we
Will be
purchase?
supported.
How are we going to support this? What happens if a laptop fails? What happens if the laptop gets stolen? Do we have enough? Are we going to power the laptops or charge these tablets in school, or is it going to be the responsibility of the students? How are we going to train? Who is going to do the training? What are the
What
objectives
type
of the
of training
training?
are you going to offer? Is it just a one-shot deal, or is it going to be someone who's in there consistently mentoring and supporting?
Well, it definitely has to be more than a one-shot thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And does it make certain, you have to make certain that the software applications that you're asking the teachers to use and asking the students to use matches the academic goals for your district. And I think we've just about exhausted everything for our one-to-one
I like
computing
the idea
show.
of your buddies, the technology directors across the state of Texas, who they have been implementing the one-to-one. And
They have.
many of them use the little what do you call iTunes cards, so that the teachers can go out and locate different mobile apps
There's a number
that are available,
right, and there's a
so
number
many
of different
other opportunities to help
there's a number of
support the
different ways
instructor.
you can get software.
Absolutely.
But we've run out of time to describe
Oh, well,
them.
there we are.
For Technology and Education Today, I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford.